Hi, I'm Debbie, and this is my true life story. My husband of 27 years has changed drastically. Within 18 months, he's gone from a 55-year-old granddad to a wannabe 20-year-old young man. He started dating younger women. I suppose this was what you would call a midlife crisis. Can you relate or know someone who does? Lately, we've been having a lot of unnecessary arguments about silly things. I mean, at this age, we should be enjoying our lives together. Instead, he constantly makes cheeky comments about my appearance, the way that I dress, how much I eat, and that I need to lose weight. Did he not notice all of that at the time? I'm normally a confident person, but now I've lost all confidence in myself. We've got two handsome boys, 24 and 26. They've moved out and are getting on with their lives. I noticed whenever we were out, he stares at younger women as if he's undressing them, especially if they're beautiful and dressed sexy. I won't lie, that made me jealous, very jealous. So I decided to update my wardrobe and dress a bit more trendier, slightly on the younger side, which I don't think he noticed. Not one bit. All my best efforts went unnoticed. I couldn't recall the last time we made love. I know that might be too much information, but since I'm going to tell it, why not tell it all? It's like his desire for me has faded. That made me start having doubts about our long-term future together. Recently, I found out he subscribed to a website called OnlyFans. From his browsing history, I noticed that he mostly checked out the younger ladies. How does a 54-year-old bird like me compete with that? I had no idea what to do. I was so stressed out and I looked a wreck. When I confronted him about my findings and all of my concerns, we had a big argument. We were so loud, shouting and screaming. Even the police turned up. One of the neighbors must have called them. After we calmed down, we apologized to each other, talked things over. He suggested that we went on holiday to Hawaii to clear our heads. My favorite destination. I must give it to him. He really knows how to soften me up. First few days on holiday were great, until he slipped back into his new self. While we were laying on the beach, I noticed that he was keeping a close eye on the young ladies going by underneath his dark glasses, thinking that I didn't notice, especially the blonde girl in the pink bikini. He eventually joined them for a game of beach volleyball. The last time I saw him play any sport was about 20 years ago. I sat on the beach and watched him exchanging numbers with the blonde girl in the pink bikini. 2 weeks after we returned, I noticed that he started going out a lot. Returning late, listening to rap music like Ass Like That by Eminem and I Hear You Calling by R. Kelly. So I knew where that was heading. It's like he didn't even care anymore. He stunned me by asking for a divorce. I didn't fight it. While our lawyers prepared the paperwork, I moved in with my bestie. The divorce was a smooth and quick process. We owned 8 properties between us, which we acquired during our time together. I was awarded 3 of the 8 properties. I knew I deserved more, but I didn't fight it. Chasing young girls was one thing, but keeping up with their lifestyle is a completely different thing. Shortly after the divorce, I heard he had sold one of the houses and bought a sports car. I was surprised to see him in the supermarket with a young blonde-haired girl, the same girl on the beach. It hurt me so much. Words couldn't even explain. I went into the toilet to avoid being seen by them. I felt so embarrassed. I started to cry. I must have been in the toilet for the best part of half an hour, trying to pull myself together. A friend of his told me that his blondie was only 24 years old. That's the age of our youngest. He was spending a lot of money trying to keep up with her lifestyle. He even started taking drugs and smoking weed. To make a long story short, I was out bowling with my bestie when I checked my phone. I must have had 10 missed calls and a VM from the hospital. When I listened to the VM, it said, As the next of kin of Mr. Lawson, can you please come to the hospital immediately? I feared the worst. I was so nervous my bestie had to drive the car. On the way to the hospital, I rang our 2 boys to let them know. After all, we have been together for 27 wonderful years. When I got there, I was told he had a cardiac arrest. It was due to the excessive intake of drugs and alcohol. As he lay in the hospital in critical condition, we stood around his bed, hoping and praying for the best. The doctor pulled me aside and told me that before he passed out, his last words were, "Tell Debbie that I'm sorry." It broke my heart to hear that. He was in a coma for 2 days, and then they kept him in hospital for a further 4. On one of my visits, I noticed the name Bev tattooed on his arm. He has never tattooed my name, or our kid's name on his body. Seeing that, everything in my head was telling me to pull the plug on his heart monitor. That's how hurt I was. After he was discharged from hospital, his left side was partially disabled. He wasn't allowed to drive for a month. I had to be driving him to all of his physio and doctor appointments, and managing his personal affairs. On his bank statement, I noticed that he transferred huge sums of money to this Beth, which adds up to $295,000 to be exact. That's in the space of 28 months since our divorce. One afternoon, while I was taking him back home from physio, he begged me relentlessly to take him back. I let him know that it wasn't going to happen. Not after the way that he had treated me and made me feel. Plus, I was seeing someone who went through a similar breakup just like myself, and over the months, I've grown to love him, and I am really looking forward to this new chapter of my life. Remember, a midlife crisis is a personal journey that your partner is going through, and it does not define your worth or value as an individual. It's important to acknowledge and accept that their actions are a reflection of their own internal struggles, rather than a reflection of your worthiness of love and happiness. Can you relate to this story? Subscribe to this channel for more true life stories. It's free to subscribe.